Is making music and putting it on stock music or other sites a viable thing to do as we move to the end of 2025? Now, if you remember at the beginning of the year, if you follow along here, my plan was to continue to let go of the money that I was making with stock libraries for several reasons that I will get into in this video, and continue to focus more on sync licensing, which is what I do on a daily basis with my partners and with many libraries. And I just went to the production music conference, so that is my focus. Even though stock music literally went up for me last year in 2024. Now, I kind of chalk that up to a rise in stock music to a fluky kind of janky Pond 5 AI payment that we still haven't gotten this year, and we'll see if we do. And I wasn't adding any new music to these libraries, and in fact, this year only taking music out to redo and put into sync albums. I was only keeping my public domain music on those libraries because I don't care if AI trains off those, especially if they pay me. And I make money on Content ID from them. But the other day, I did something I haven't done in a long time, mainly because I looked at my Content ID numbers. I worked on my spreadsheet and to see what stock has paid me this year. Now, don't get too excited. It is not trending up. But in this podcast, I do want to talk about what I see and if it is useful for you to use stock music sites as a training ground to sort of license your music, or if it's worth it for you to pick up a few bucks by putting your music online. People ask me this all the time. They ask me this every week. Is it worth it to put my music into these sites? Well, that's what we're going to talk about here in October of 2025. Towards the end of October, can you still make any money with it? I realize you saw the title of this video, $200 a month. That's not very much money when you are trying to get to a place where I'm trying to get to with licensing. However, it might be a car payment for someone. It might be the electric bill for somebody. So it's not nothing. And it still continues to be not nothing. And as long as it's not nothing, and it's money that comes in from music that I sit here and make in this room, I'm going to talk about it on this channel. So this will include a conversation about Content ID and the money I've made there, although it's crazy. Content ID is nuts and kind of fluky. I did a video 4 years ago called $600 a month in stock music. Well, like I said, now that's down to about $200 a month. And that's with me taking music out and not putting much back in. I've put about 14 songs in. We'll talk about that and how I have been approaching stock, which is not really much, but I'll tell you today. Should you sell your music online? Can you make any money with these stock libraries? And if so, which ones? I'll also delve a little bit into sheet music sales, which people ask me about all the time, and where you can do that, and a little interesting update there. Can online music sales in stock, Content ID, and sheet music make you money while you sleep? Well, maybe a little. Welcome to the Make Music Income Podcast. My name is Eric Copeland, and I've made a full-time living as a music producer, composer, and arranger for over 25 years. In this podcast, I talk about making music income with music licensing, music production, music streaming, music royalties, being a music composer, arranger, producer, or artist, or really any way that I have in the past or currently now or want to make music income. I have free and paid courses and coaching and ebooks for you at makemusicincome.com/free. Make sure to like this podcast if you enjoy the content, because it really helps, and subscribe if you're just finding the podcast or channel and want to be part of things every week. I hope all this content helps you make the music you love to make and make music income. I do want to talk about all the stock things. And as a matter of fact, today we have two sponsors of today's video. And the first thing that we have sponsoring the video is, as usual, me, but something different, because we're talking about stock music, and that's all going to be changing over the course of the next year, how I present any information on my site about it. And the first thing to look at is the stock market course, and it's going to be going away. We are going out of business. I mean, it sounds sad, but we are having a going out of business sale because this course and this ebook is going away. Because the information isn't necessarily going away. I'm going to fold it into my full music licensing course, Getting into Sync. But I think right now I need to reevaluate it. Already, if you have the stock market or you get it at its last final sale price for the next week or so of $39, you'll see all the libraries. Every single one is there, even ones I don't suggest you use anymore. I'm not going to be including those in the new information. I just don't think it is the right thing to do, and I'd rather you spend your time and your money more wisely. So if you're interested, you can find out in the description below and go click on it. And I think you can start the course for free and all that kind of stuff. And it includes all my videos from this year that I've been updating you on what's going on in 2025 and about stock music and libraries. And it will include this video once I get it done and once we're done. So go check that out if you're interested. A very low price to get knowledgeable about how the whole thing works and a little bit about how it works in 2025 as well. And also, as usual, we are brought to you by the Positive Spin Partners program, and you can find the link down below to this page, which will let you figure out if this is for you or not. It has some quotes from people who are part of Positive Spin Partners, our goals, what you get with Positive Spin Partners. I will tell you that if you are interested in this, this is not for those looking for a cheapo program. This isn't a $39 program. This is working with me on a monthly basis. So go check that out, the Positive Spin Partners program. It's only for about 30 people. And right now we are about at capacity of what we can afford to do, just because of I have to work specifically and individually with everyone in it. So go take a look at the Positive Spin Partners program. And if you're interested, give me an email and let's talk about it. Would love to talk to you about partnering specifically for sync licensing and getting your music into TV and film and ads and all that kind of good stuff. So let's talk about stock music and sites to sell your music on in 2025. You know, this is something that people ask me all the time. Somebody just asked me last week, Eric, are you going to tell us about your income in your music income? Well, I do as far as sync goes in a general sense. But I usually would talk about on this channel my income from stock music, literally. And I'm going to today. I'm going to show you the actual numbers because I don't care. It's not much money. And even if it was, I think it's interesting for you to know because stock music is one of those things that you need no one's permission to do. Except you have to audition for the library, like Motion Array or whoever. You have to get in. But once you are in, and you still have to get their permission, you know, they have to okay your songs and things like that. But some of the sites don't. Pond 5 doesn't. And there are some others that don't. You can just load them in there and wait for people to find them. So it's one of the few ways to basically have your own private library of your music online for people to be able to buy and use. And so I think it's still a great training ground for sync, for licensing, you know, or sync, but you can practice making music and put it up there. If you are someone who is just getting into the DAW or you don't have much time to make music, these still are a great training ground and they're free. They don't cost anything. I mean, I guess sync licensing libraries, if you get into those, they don't cost anything either. And I still prefer them. But since people ask me so much about stock music, should I put my music on stock? I wanted to talk about it, especially since I took a look at my numbers, and we're going to look at that. Now, the first thing I want to talk about in this is my approach this year. I changed it from the beginning of this year. I've talked about it over the past 2 years, that I was putting less emphasis in stock music, and I still am. My approach in 2025 has been to really put no more new music up. Now, I've changed that a little bit, and I'll tell you why. But I do a lot of, or have done a lot of, public domain music. And so I have been leaving that music up, the public domain music, because I don't care if AI trains off that. They can train off that if they want to. And as it turns out, I make content ID money all the same. When you are the arranger, by the way, of a public domain song, you need to know this. You are basically the writer. Not basically, you are the writer. You can get publishing off that. You can get writer's income off that. You can make money. I'm here to tell you, I did it last year. I had an arrangement of the Star Spangled Banner get on Fox and Friends show or something. And that sucker paid out around $2,500 altogether in PRO from somebody who downloaded off one of these sites. So it can happen that way. And if you're on Artlist, it really can get you some PRO income, as people who are probably here today or what will be watching this video can attest that you can see PRO income, performance rights income from stock music still. It's happened to me. It's happening to other people, especially people who are in libraries like Artlist that are literally going after television type of opportunities. So I am leaving up my existing public domain stuff for now. Will I make more? I don't know if I have the time, because anytime I have to make music, it's going into the 20 to 30 albums we're working on at a time. And I'm trying to mix 2 albums a week as part of our partners program with my partners. And so that is taking up most of my time. And I'll tell you what I am doing. I am putting some non-exclusive music up to Motion Array that is in other non-exclusive libraries. So recently, over the past year, I have signed a few non-exclusive deals. I even had a exclusive library say they would accept an album, but only non-exclusively. I was like, cool, I'll also put it all up to Motion Array, because a lot of that music has already been on Music Array, and I took it down, and now it's on motionarray.com, and it was a good money maker before, and hopefully it'll be a good money maker again. Jazz stuff and different things. So, but all that said, even with that, I've only put about 14 new songs up to Motion Array in 2025. I've taken off a lot of songs off of Motion Array and Pond 5 and Audio Jungle, and closed down my VFine music site, and waiting to close down another site in China here in 2026, and really get anything that is original off of places that might train AI. Now, it's not, and I'm not like freaking out about AI. We'll talk about AI in a minute, but I just don't. I need to keep that stuff off there, or I want to keep that stuff off there, or a better idea is that I want to take that music and put it into sync libraries. And I have a new sub-label that's coming out, so I'll have my own libraries to put stuff in. Talk about having your own library. Because that's my main focus. My main focus is sync libraries, my partner program, and my sub-label that's coming up. So that's my approach in 2025. I am not putting a lot of new music up there. I am putting, if I was making and had time to make a lot of non-exclusive public domain music, I would put it up there. And there's probably still a few sites, like one I'll tell you about here soon, that is new, that I'm probably going to put some more music up there, because they are sending me money. And if I can spend a couple hours putting stuff up to someplace that sends me money for years, I'll do it. And so you may want to do that too. So let's talk about my my music in 2025 and what I have made. Cloud9, glad you are here. I hope you stick with us for a minute, because I would love to get some of your numbers as well from some of these sites. And already Wolfgang was the first one here, and Wolfgang and I are working on many albums. And Wolfgang, I will depend on you to tell us about your experience, because Wolfgang works in bulk in both sync and in stock. And so when you do, you're able to have numbers to talk about. I am in bulk. I could say I probably got 100 to 100 songs in there. That's not as much as the other guys have. It's not as much as Wolfgang and Cloud9 have, I'm sure. Somebody asked me this the other day. Is there a way to increase demand for your music for licensing? Not really. No. Because you can't know what people are wanting. And they're not interested. They go to these libraries. When you go to a library, a public library, not a music library, but let's just say you go to a public library and you're looking for a book. Well, there's no amount of like advertising that's going to make you choose a book because you already have a book. Now, sometimes inside the library, they might have, have you read this? Have you read that? So I guess in some ways you could, but really people going to a library are fishing around for what they want. They go knowing what they want already. And they come to the Pond 5 or Motion Array or even a sync library, and they know what they're looking for. They don't need an ad from you to tell them what they're looking for. They know what they're looking for. They're going to ignore your ads. So no, I don't think there's a really way to increase music for licensing. The way is to make more of it and put it in more libraries. That's the way to do it. That's the real answer. We'll talk about my Content ID earnings here in just a minute. Wolfgang, what I want to know is, as I talk about each of these things, and you see my numbers, it'd be good to know your numbers at some of these libraries, what you're seeing in 2025, maybe your totals as far as how many songs you have in stock music libraries. I know you know these numbers, and how much about that you've made in each of these things that I'm going to talk about. And with that, let's move right to those numbers. Here are my numbers. Let me get me out of the way. And you can see 2025 down here for those of you on the podcast. I will try my very best to talk about the numbers rather than just saying, hey, look at this, because you can't look at anything. But as we see, last year, if we look at the total of 2024, it was around $3,100 versus 2023, which was $2,700. So a $400 increase, but it was all due to this. It was all due to this $599 Pond 5 AI payout that we got. And so, that was really, that happened in October of last year. We haven't seen that this year yet, but everybody is hoping and praying that happens again. Now, I got penalized a little bit for that. I would have gotten more, but I had just taken a bunch of stuff out because of AI, and I've done the very same thing this year. So we'll see. So we come down here to 2025. Oh, the other number I want you to look at from last year is this number, the monthly number. If we look back when I started in 2021, when I made almost $4,500 from stock in my first year, that was about $375 a month that I was making, that I averaged throughout that year. It's come down every year. Last year, it was about $250 a month. 2022 was $250. 2023 was $230. 2024 was up to $258, about $260. But this year, we are down to about $187, right around $187 a month from all the sites that I keep on this kind of non-exclusive thing here. So if we look at these numbers, we're going to look first at Motion Array. I've made almost $800. And by the way, Motion Array is, well, it's down. It's for sure down. I made an average about $95 there. And here's what's funny. Wolfgang and Cloud9 are both going to tell you bigger numbers than I have, because I don't, I just don't put anything in these anymore. I'm doing everything to sync down, trying to work a long-term plan there. But as it's going right now, I'm about 17% down a month at Motion Array, but I knew I was going to be. I've taken a lot out of Motion Array, maybe like 50 songs. I had 150 in there, now I've got only like 100. So I've taken a lot out of there, so that's down 17%. Also, if we look at the next one up, which is Content ID, and only recently, which is really why I'm doing this video, is talking about my Content ID files. And here my Content ID sales, and here you go, up 60% off last year. And Content ID has been one of those things since it came about. it was always up at the top of what I was making. When it first started getting it, it was the second most thing I made in 2022. The next year, it was up 25%. In 2023, I make $640 on it. And I don't make as much as other people. But then last year, it went down pretty bad, about 56%. I only made about $300 bucks off of Content ID. Now you're asking, if you don't know what Content ID is, real quick, I'll tell you. Content ID is money that is similar to PRO royalties. It is money that when your music is played behind a video on YouTube and you have Content ID in place through a company like Identify or something, then you are going to get, it's going to recognize that that's your music, and YouTube is going to pay you unless they take it off, which we're going to talk about here in just a minute. So Content ID already is up 60% from last year, and we're just not even, that's only through August. But I kind of don't expect much more from that. And you can tell, look at the first part of the year from January to May, I only made about 50 bucks. And then, that's wrong. From January to May, I made $16. And then in June and July, something happened and I made a bunch of money. And so it's up to about $378 now, almost $400 this year, which is not nothing. Again, this is not nothing for things I haven't even done other than just keep my music up on some sites and keep it in Content ID. I will tell you that I took everything down from Content ID. I reached my 3 years and I told them to take everything down because they wouldn't just take out certain things, and I wanted to take out a bunch of original stuff. So I did that. And now I'm putting all that public domain stuff back in. I don't think it's all up there yet. So if you have any money from Motion Array and you're watching this right now, give us a thought about where you are if you keep these stats. I don't know if you're as anal about me as watching all these little pennies, but I just like to do it as a hobby. I think it's fun to do. It's music that I made that's up on a site that I can access and see. You can't always do that with your sync libraries. So that's where I am. Motion Array is about 17% down as far as monthly so far this year, and I expect that to continue. And then I almost didn't get paid last month. I made so little. It was only $46 after taxes. So let's see if anybody has any comments yet on Motion Array, which is down for me, and Content ID, which is up for me. Cloud9 Music says, usually I look at the library to see what they report, what the need is each month. Some of them, including Pond5, give out search terms and briefs on what people look at. I screenshot or Google Doc on a folder. I have never had that much luck except on Motion Array. And even then, it's just been a fast accept on for those. It's not really brought me any extra money. I think one time I got a bonus on Motion Array, but it was years ago. So I do look at that, but I'm not really sure. All right, so here are the numbers from Wolfgang, who I work a lot with in Sync as well. And he says, so far in 2024, around $1,500 per month. In 2024, he made $1,500 a month. In 2025, it's gone down to about $900 per month so far. Now, again, a lot of people would be like, whoa, $900. But he's seen a pretty drastic drop there. He says he has about 1,000 tracks in stock music plus edits. So, for example, on Pond5, there are 3,700 tracks. That means edits means like a 30-second version, a 60-second version, and stuff like that, which, even the sync libraries are not asking for all the time. I have one library that asks for 30s and stings, but they don't ask for 60s or anything else, or 15s or anything like that. So I'm not sure why stock would need it. Anybody who's worth their salt can, but I know there are different schools of thought there. Lovely Fishing Rod says the reason Content ID earning was down because YouTube slashed the music royalty rates for Content ID. Okay, cool. Wolfgang says, but since January 2024, I didn't upload anything to any stock music site. So there's a telling thing there. So even though Wolfgang is down from $1,500 a month in 2024 average to $900 a month in 2025 average, he hasn't put any new music up for a year, or for 2 years almost. And that pretty much echoes my sentiment here that there's still money being made. Now, is it going to continue to go down? Well, probably, because if you're someone who goes and sources music at a place and you find this Wolfgang guy and you like his music, and you keep sourcing him all the time to put his music into your videos, but he doesn't make any more. Well, you eventually are going to quit going to his music, and maybe mine as well. Because since a year, almost 2 years now, he hasn't put anything up to stock music sites because he's making huge amounts per quarter on his sync, and he's smarter to be doing that, which is what I'm doing as well. What content ID service do you use now? I use Identify, and I've only used Identify. And I think using anything else other than AdRev possibly is a bad idea, especially don't use your distributor. Home Recording Studio says, motion array down for me the last couple months. Yeah. Wolfgang Music says, motion array is 3 times more than in 2024, although I do not upload since 20 months. So that's pretty crazy. His motion array is averaging 3 times more so far in 2025 than 2024. This is why we're going to talk a minute about motion array and why it's probably the only site I can heartily recommend because of what it makes you, because they have a high threshold of quality there. And so that to me is important. Home Recording Studio says, motion array is down for me the last couple months, but content ID is up $1,200 last quarter. See, folks, there is money to be made. And you know what I say, when there is money to be made, we're going to talk about it. And when people are making, Cloud9 says, just offhand, I know for sure I've made over $1,000 this year in content ID. My bad, not by computer. Audio Sparks has made around $2,000 so far. See, I think Audio Sparks is not a stock site. I don't think of Audio Sparks as a stock music site, even though they have a stock music side to them. I know you're also making, I remember you telling me, Cloud9, that you are making some music, and you're making some AI money from Audio Sparks. Is that included in that? He says, Pawn 5 this year, he's averaging around $250 to $400 a month. Good Lord. I have a ton of more music. I'm about to put out over 300 plus more beats. See, people, this is what I'm saying here. For those of you wondering how these people are making money, they're putting lots of tracks in, and they're probably really great tracks. Cloud9, I still need you to email me at positivespinsongs@gmail.com so we can talk. I need to talk to you and maybe even have you be a partner in what we're doing. So let's go back to my numbers here and talk about the next thing. The next biggest total so far I have this year, again, not playing in this pool that much. So all of this is going down, except these last two. Content ID has gone up, and ArrangeMe.com, where I'm selling my sheet music, is going up. Yeah, only about $16 a month because I'm not putting as much up there I want, but still a 60% increase over last year. And last year, FYI, was a 233% increase from the year before. So if I would just put more in, just like we just heard from Cloud9, where he's putting more music in and seeing more sales, duh. And that's always been the way this has been. If you put more in and it's high quality and you're already making money before, you're going to make more money. Same goes with sync. But that's down. Yummy Sounds, of all things, I talked about it earlier this year. It had paid me around the first of the year and in May, but that's he just sends a payment every now and then, maybe quarterly or something like that. So maybe there's some more money there. That's next, but still down 44% from last year as far as what I made monthly from them. That can't be right. Can it be right? What did I make last year with them? Yummy Sounds. Yummy Sounds is way up. That's a wrong stat. So that's way up this year, but only because he sent me 2 payments because I wanted to take some stuff out. I think he doesn't want me to. Audio Sparks is at about $100 this year, at about $10 a month for me. You see what the difference is. $100 versus Audio Sparks for Cloud9 is $2,000 this year so far. I made $100, but that's because I took a bunch out of Audio Sparks, and you really can't, but I had put them in under a non-exclusive name, and so I was able to take them out. If you put them into Audio Sparks proper and not into Radio Sparks, it's a longer story than you want to know, but you can't take them out. They're perpetually in that library forever Don't put them in if you want to take them out and use them in something else. So we'll get to some of that information in a minute. I've made about 95 plus 40, so about 140 to 100 or so, 140 to $150 in Audio Jungle this year, which is still a thing, although it says it's down 55%. And now here's another one that has not come up yet this year, but that's because I don't know the full year yet. And is something new called Content Creator Templates. And I wanted to show you this this library real quick because it's something you might want to get into that has continued to make me some money somehow. And if we go look at it, it's called Content Creator Templates. And they do not have music, but they do have sound effects. And in the sound effects, you can put your music. And it's best to put up, I think they prefer it to be 60 seconds or 30 seconds or something like that, because they want it to be sound effect-like. But if you've got things, you might want to take a look at that because it's paying. Obviously, it's paying me this year. Because if we go back to Excel, you can see that it is paying me. I've made $68 on it this year, and just a few dollars added every month to the total. And speaking of the totals this year, I've had 4 three-digit totals, 5 three-digit totals, and 3 payments, 3 months over $300. So May, June, and July, if you add up what I made, and I don't even have the full data yet, it was about $366 a month. So in those 3 months, I made $1,100, almost, a lot of what I've got this year. But that was a pretty good 3 months. And I don't have either Content ID or Content Creator money numbers for the past few months. So these will still go up for end of year numbers. Let's see, anything else I want to talk about? Song Trader is not a stock music site. I've made some money there through the years with overhead music. That has gone down drastically this year. And so that's down 80% monthly from what it was last year. Pond 5 has gone down 92% for me in 2025. And so those are the main ones I want to talk about. I do not really care to talk about motion elements anymore, or especially, you can see them in red, 100 Audio or VFine Music. But Dreams Time and Deposit Photos, I don't even know if I still have music there. I think I have my public domain stuff there. But I am drastically taking all of these out so I don't have to keep up with them anymore. But that's the numbers. I'm at about $1,874 this year in 2025. It's down, but that's going to be over $2,000, probably somewhere around the, $190 to $200 a month mark. And that's when I say, is $200 a month coming in automatically on the low end something that you would take? Would you take $200 for music that you just made on your computer and put up there? Well, obviously, there are people who are making much more than that. Cloud9 says, Deposit Photos, he's made $1,000 this year. Deposit Photos! Are you kidding me? You got to be kidding me. Deposit Photos? We're talking Deposit Photos. Deposit Photos? You know what I'm talking about. Cloud9 says, my main thing is make beats for artists. That's why I haven't had a chance to add all my tracks to the library. So, yeah, you're playing, and I assume, Cloud9, that means you're also playing the Beats game on BeatStars and things like that, and using those sites to make money as well. See, that's very smart, because hip-hop is always useful to everyone in every genre, even sync. And Cloud9, I can't remember. Are you doing sync yet? I think you're mainly doing this. But Cloud9 is a great example. Cloud9 should have his own site and his own book. But he's only making money because he's making tracks and putting them up everywhere. He's putting them up at BeatStars. He's making $1,000 at Deposit Photos. He's making $2,000 with Audio Sparks. He's averaging $250 to $400 on Pawn 5, which is the bargain basement stock site of all, and only about $1,000 in Content ID. That would be weird. I would think you'd make more in Content ID with all the play on all those other things. Lovely Fishing Rod says, do you prefer these libraries and distributors train on your music for AI since they are paying out royalties for training on your music? Well, I don't know how much they're paying, to be honest, and we'll never know. If we don't, last year about this time, we got a big payout from Pawn 5, and Cloud9 says he's gotten payouts on Audio Sparks. I haven't seen either one of those this year. So I don't know if they're paying for training. I think that's all unknown. Easy Tactics, or East Tactics, says, if a poet or lyricist using AI to make music off their words, 100% their words, how should they put their offering out to the world? Or should they crawl into a hole because AI is controversial? You should probably put it out. I don't know. I just don't know. There's no way to... I don't make any AI music. I don't suggest that people AI music. I understand why poets or lyricists do this. My uncle does this, and it's been a boon to him because the only way he could make it before was to pay me to make it. He wanted music set to his words. And this way, a poet or lyricist can go and have music set to the words. It's a gift from God. And so in that case, I understand it. But as far as where you're going to put it to sell it, you could sell it yourself and sell the music yourself online somehow, or I don't know. I just don't know because I don't do that. So I don't. You shouldn't crawl into a hole. What I would prefer is that you learn to make music, and by using these sites, somehow be able to make some music yourself. Cloud9 says, thanks for putting us on game. Hey, my pleasure. You're the one on game, bro. The home recording studio says, if it was easier to upload to Audio Sparks, I'd put more in. Amen to that, brother. That is a slog right there. I had my wife do it when she was off work this year because I didn't want to do it. Cloud9 says, for the first time, made no money through SongTrader. Yeah, it's been way down. All their stuff that I made money on for years is way down to the point that I'm not. And I've taken a bunch of stuff off there too. I don't always upload all my beats to Content ID due to some of the libraries I submit to. Oh, okay. Because they ask you not to. However, if you're on Identify, it's okay to upload your Audio Spark stuff to Identify, because I asked them about this. Because I said I want to take some of my music down because I want to put it on Content ID. They said, well, which one are you using? If you're using Identify, it's okay. We're okay with Identify. So I don't know if you knew that, but anything you are putting on Audio Sparks, you can put on Identify if you use Identify. I think you use AdRev, if I remember right, Cloud9. I can't remember. All right, so we've looked at the numbers and we've looked at everything else. Let's go on to what other things I want to talk about and finish up here today. So we've talked about Pawn 5, down royally for me. Audio Jungle, about the same. Motion Array is down. Content Creator Templates, I showed you that. They are down, but somewhat consistent, actually. Audio Sparks is down for me, and not really stock. They tend to think of themselves as a music that powers Hollywood, is what it says on their site. So I think Audio Sparks thinks it's a non-exclusive library for television and things like that, which I've had at the very first of my experience with them. I had some uses like that. SongTrader, also not really stock. They are really trying to get stuff to television and do sync licensing on there. Artlist is stock, but many people who have been on this podcast or have been giving us information have told us that Artlist is, and Stevie B talks about this too, they're seeing really good royalties from BMI or for their PRO on Artlist. So, and they're kind of like high-end stock multi-use, which includes television. That includes other libraries like triple scoop, audio socket, music bed, places like that. I talk about those in my course. If you want to see the $39 going out of business sale course, it's in the description below. It's not going to be around much longer. V-Find Music, 100 audio, motion elements, Dreamtime, deposit photos, no matter what Cloud9 says, that's a big no for me. But as you can see from the comments that we've gotten already today, people are still making money on this. I mean, Pond 5 is $400 this year. That's your total for Pond 5? Wow, that's crazy. Wolfgang says, my best libraries this year so far is Motion Array and Audio Crowd. I've never heard of Audio Crowd. I don't even know what Audio Crowd is. What's Audio Crowd? I'll have to go check that out. Because he's concentrating on sync libraries with me a lot of times. We're working on 2 records right now. Cloud9 says, oh, wow, thank you for the identify tip on Content ID you gave. I'll definitely get those in there. Yeah. And you know, if there's songs that you haven't put in AdRev or whatever, but you can get your Audio Spark stuff in there, especially if you're making money there, you should have them in there. And we're going to talk about Content ID next here in just a minute. Answering more questions. Did you see an increase in your publishing royalties? Not from stock. I have seen a 25% increase in payout from my PRO because of stock music. That's interesting. Yes, P5 total. Well, okay. Audio Crowd is a German stock library. Okay, never heard of it. So, will I continue to try and make income with stock music in 2026? Well, I likely won't do much more than I'm doing now, which means that I'll continue this experiment of seeing if I make any money at all just by leaving stuff in there, just like Wolfgang is doing, because Wolfgang made a very large 5-figure payment, low to mid 5-figure payment in his last BMI statement. And guys, you're never going to make that in stock. You're never going to make I mean, he's making literally, what would you say, 10% in stock that you make in sync now? Would you say that, Wolfgang? Time, I only have so much of it. And so where is it best spent? And I am investing in the future in sync. I think that is the best place it's set. I do think AI will continue to eat up a lot of what stock provides, but I think stock is still easy for people to do. AI is not as easy as you think it is for everyone. Some people just don't want to sit there and have to try to put in stuff to get the music they want. Some people are really good at it, but a lot of people still prefer stock libraries where they just go hear a song and they can easily download it. They don't have to come up with a prompt and all that kind of stuff. Some people just have no imagination at all. So, but for me, that's my income so far in stock music, $1,874. And again, it's not nothing. Almost $2,000 for really not putting any other music up there except for a few things and I've taken down hundreds of songs off of, if you add up all the songs I've taken off all the libraries, including Pond 5, Audio Jungle, Motion Array, and Audio Sparks. I've taken down hundreds of songs and I've only put back a few, about 14 in Motion Array. And yet still I'm making almost $2,000 this year so far in this. Wolfgang says, yes, around 10% from stock music. So his music is only 10% and his sync income is 90%. So that should tell you something. Let's see here. Hello, Angela. Good to see you here. Home Recording Studio says, what's your pricing at Pond 5 currently? My sales went down after raising mine to $10 per track. I think I've got them at 20, actually. So that could be what it is. I don't think I'm doing the $5 all you can eat sale price. Cloud9 says, for me, mostly this year and next, I'm going to be doing way more uploading and administration work. I got ChatGPT to show me I'm leaving way too much money on the table. 70% admin, 30% creating. Well, okay. I personally rather just create all the time and do less admin. So That's one reason why I don't do stock music, is because even Motion Array takes a bit of time to put things up there. It's not as bad as Audio Sparks or Song Trader or something, but it takes time. So I will just not be doing much stock work more than I'm doing now. But I wanted to come on today because I wanted to talk about the numbers. So because people have asked, is it still viable? Well, there's still money being made by me and Wolfgang. We're not taking that music down. Wolfgang may only be making, what did he say, $9,000 this year, but still $9,000 for songs that he just put up two years ago. Why not leave them up if they're going to still make you $9,000? Doesn't make any sense. But what started all this, and the reason I ended up doing this whole thing, what started this was somebody said, hey, content ID numbers are out. And they always talk about that on our Discord. And by the way, we have Discord. The link is below. But in the Discord, somebody said, content ID numbers are out. So I went and looked, and I'd made money. I hadn't made any money this year until these videos started using my music. And I hadn't looked it's October, and I haven't really looked all year to see if I'd made any money there. And I went there, and sure enough, a lot of videos from some religious talk show thing, I think, was using one of my hymns that I had arranged, the same one. And I made hundreds of dollars off them using it. However, when I went to watch it, I couldn't hear any music at all. There was no music of mine being used. So I was like, why am I getting paid for this if no music's being used? Or is it playing so low that I can't hear it? That's a possibility, I guess. I don't know. But likely what has happened more is that these videos had my music in it. And they saw that the money was getting sucked off their site, their YouTube site, or they were getting claimed. And they said, why are we getting claimed? And it says, oh, because of this video. And they decided to take it was because of this song. And so they decided to take my song out of their video. And now those same videos are up with no music in them. And now I'm not making any money. Because you could see the cutoff from like June to July, or July to August, or something like that. July was $300. August was $0 or $1 or $3. And so Content ID has been weird. I've heard of other people who hear music say they're getting paid for their music. I know Matthias is getting paid for music that's not his, that he hears in videos. Again, it could be that your music was there and you got paid and it was claimed, and then they decided to take yours out and put in something that didn't cost them anything. So Content ID, again, is usually from YouTube, but supposedly it can also be from Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. But I haven't had any claims from those things. But again, I'm not really putting music there. So will I continue Content ID with all this weirdness? Why not? If the possibility exists for $200 to be paid to me, I have a $200 payment or so coming in about a week. That's going to be very helpful to make the old car payment. So bring it on. But will I continue Content ID? Sure. As a matter of fact, I need to go in and make sure all of my non-exclusive music, my non-exclusive and public domain music, is up there, because it makes money when people use it for some reason. So Content ID, for me, if we look back, I'm at $378 so far this year, about $37 to $40 a month. Again, wouldn't you want a check coming into your mailbox for $35 or $40? Yeah, it's not something, but you could go out to eat on that. You could go get, take the fam out to McDonald's for just some music that you had that got played on YouTube. Why not? So that is. Lovey Fishing Rod gets back to my $5 all-you-can-eat buffet. You like that? I'm going to keep doing Content ID for sure. Cloud9 says, ironically, I kind of like the admin work. I notice the more I do, my income increases a lot. I got to check out the Discord. Yes, you do need to. You're not on our Discord, Cloud9? Make sure you are. And yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, there is some fun in. there's a joy that comes in knowing that you made music and you put it up to a place, and it is kind of cool. I'm getting ready to do that this afternoon. I'm making music. I'm making the final stems and things for a library, and even in that admin work, there is joy because this is stuff that's going to be in their library and has the possibility of getting in TV shows and then bringing you back royalties, which is kind of cool. Tim Krantz says, "Yeah, I caught you live." Hey, Tim, good to see you. Content ID had huge payouts in 2023. Yeah, that was the last time. Facebook takes 12 months to pay out music royalties. Well, I don't know anything about that. Wolfgang says, "I haven't registered anything with Content ID." I shudder to think how much you would have made over the past few years, Wolfgang. And it's super easy. It doesn't take much time. So I would get a free Identify account if I were you, if you want some extra hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars from your stuff. You just make sure that you're only putting your stock stuff up there. Of course, you can't really put up none of your sync stuff. You can go up on Content ID, but your stock stuff certainly can. And I think you'd be surprised that you'd make probably a couple extra $1,000 if you're already making $9,000 with stock right now. So, all right, so that is Content ID. David says, "For me, the income from stock music is about half of what it was last year, but I started focusing on sync licensing with no real success so far. My best income comes from Motion Array, Content ID, and in the third quarter, Audio Sparks. Yeah, sync licensing, if you just started focusing on it this year, is not going to bring any money to you this year unless you're doing direct deals or working with a sync agent who is paying you upfront for your songs. Sync licensing works in the back end in PRO, which takes a year or two to get that ball rolling down the hill. But once it starts and you keep feeding it, it's exponential growth. As the ball starts rolling down the hill, your income starts going up the more you put in. So sync for me is the way to go. All right, lastly, I want to talk about one number that I didn't show before, ArrangeMe.com. And that's where I upload my sheet music, and I've made about $161 or so on that so far this year. Now, I've had 1 month that was $45, and I have more works to put up, so many more. And it's just a matter of admin. It's just a matter of me doing it. Also, sheet music is a little difficult to make, and so I have some partners who help me with that, but I haven't been feeding them the music. You have to put the music up before it can make you any money. The more arrangements I would put up to that site, I would make more money. And so, to be honest, sheet music is something that I really want to do more of. And personally, I am just a person who wants to be known as a composer, and I want to be selling more of my sheet music. And you can see it's up 60% this year so far. Though if I would put up more, guess what? I'd make more. Shocker. So that is something that actually, making music for the stage is one of those kind of, not bucket list, but maybe end game things for me, where I become a composer or more of a composer, not just for sync, certainly not for stock, but for any licensing type thing, and maybe more focus on music for that actual people play on actual stages. It still happens, and it's still happening all the time. People are using that music in their churches. They're using it in their school programs. They're using music. And these are people who don't write music or play by ear. They need music to play. This includes hundreds of thousands of musicians on the planet needing music that they can go to a site like Sheet Music Plus or whatever those sites are and find sheet music that they can play to. It's something we're really missing out on. And so, and for me, it's something I want to do since I compose a lot of classical. And so since I'm composing a lot of classical, I want to make sure that I am getting those classical works up online, getting all my piano arrangements that are making me money on Content ID already this year and on Motion Array and different things like that. I need to get those sheet music versions up on ArrangeMe.com, and I'll continue to see more income from that. That could be, this year so far, it's my third largest thing on my spreadsheet as far as after Motion Array and Content ID. It's ArrangeMe.com, and by a lot. And so if I would put more up, And just like we were talking about, Cloud9 says it's the admin. If he would do more admin, he asked ChatGPT, he said, how can I make more money? And it says, put more up, you dummy. No offense, I'm not calling you a dummy. But and if ChatGPT is calling you a dummy, you should not use it. But really, we got to do a little bit of admin work and put our stuff up, because if we don't put it up, we're not going to make any money. Same with Sync. If you don't get into libraries, you're not going to have any money made. Cloud9 says, I saw in one of your shorts you mentioned video game stock music sites. Is that a thing? Yeah, it is. And I don't know how it works, though. I just know that whenever I talk with my guy, Stephen Malin, he is someone who works in that small niche of video game music for stock sites, and there's a bunch of them there, and you can find that if you look in video game music playlist on the site on my YouTube, you'll find those things. But there's quite a few of them. There's 3 or 4 of them that are used all the time, and they sell just like stock. And so I've not done it, again, just because of time. I'm out of time, and I'm done with stock for the most part because I'm so involved in sync licensing. So I just don't have time. I think that's about all I have for today, and I think that's certainly long enough to talk about stock. And thank you for hanging out with me today and for watching. Make sure you go down into the description, because not only is there free stuff, which you can get anytime, always, every week, but we do have the going out of business sale for the stock market course and ebook. They will be going away. And the information on libraries like Deposit Photos may be going away. We'll see. I mean, I just haven't made enough money. I think I literally have a $25 payment coming from them, if I'm not mistaken. I do think I have a payment coming from them. But it takes a while to get, it seems. But the stock market is a course that was my first course, and it was a $99 thing before, and we've had sales on it before, and I brought it down to $49 recently, but now for about the next week, at least until the end of this month, and then I'm going to take it down, completely take it down. So for now, if you're interested in these libraries, in these online libraries, and you need, all the information hasn't changed, and I've updated it a few times, but it's pretty much all the same as it ever was. As far as how to get into them, what are the links to get to each one, and all of that. I've changed that in the ebook as best I can somewhat recently. So check out the stock market if you're interested in getting your music into these libraries where some people are still making $9,000 a year, and Cloud9's it's only going up, making $1,000 from one this year, $2,000 from another. I'm making almost $2,000 just by leaving the music in there that I put in years ago. So if you're interested in that, it's a little bit of admin time, but it's for music you can make, and you don't have to talk to people. So if you're kind of like, oh, I'm not very good at making relationships with libraries or getting replies from stuff, but these sites are still hungry for your music. They still want more music. Pond5, Motion Array, Audio Sparks, Deposit Photos. They're all still taking music. And so you can still get your music in there and sell it and make money on different ways. They're all trying to figure out ways to also monetize AI and all that kind of stuff. And so if you're cool with that, then you can make money that way. But go check out the stock market for $39, and then it's going to be gone. It'll go away, and it'll never be again. Also, make sure if you're a sync composer, go to positivespinsongs.com/partners and check out the program that we have going on there. If you are discouraged because you're making quality music and you're not getting replies from libraries, well, I have the answer for you. The answer for you is our program. We have the libraries. Guess who the library is? Me. And or my BMG libraries, or my libraries that are now associated with Warner Chappell Music, or I have 2 BMG libraries that are taking our music right now. And then I have my own sub-label coming up, so I will be the library. I'll make the decision. And David, all you have to do is email me and see if you fit into the partners program, and we can talk about that. I have several different levels there for people to be involved. So check out the Positive Spin Partners program. Otherwise, folks, I hope this has been helpful, and we will see you next time here on the Make Music Income podcast. Have a great weekend, and make the music you love, most importantly. But also, let's still try to make some music income if we can. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.